Hello, traders. Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com, Monday, the 17th of February, 2025. In this edition of your weekend video newsletter, we'll discuss the S&P 500 finally breaking out above 6,100. Accordingly, this bullish activity is setting up a follow-through this week, with the big cap index above all of its moving averages. Overall, most indicators are bullish, and a large number of sectors bullish, looking for a continuation. The New York FANG index, only 10 stocks, but it is breaking out this week, looking for a follow-through, as these 10 stocks show bullish activity, volume, and price action. MACD and stochastics both moving higher, and RSI is showing strength of trend. At the same time, the industrials, only 30 stocks, are neutral. Bollinger Band's contracting. We're looking for a directional trigger that could follow the S&P 500 and the Qs, as we see here, at a double top, testing this previous high in December. Looking for the breakout of this double top. RSI is rising, MACD and stochastics are bullish, and volume has been picking up. With these indices moving higher, the S&P 500 accomplished a feat that we've been looking forward to over the last few weeks. We got rejected every Friday. This Friday, however, we broke out on Thursday and created a doji to end the week above 6,100, with the call wall shifting to 6,150, that being a bit more bullish, despite giving us a neutral signal to start the week on Tuesday. So, with the VIX lower, we're expecting some tight price action this week going into February OPEX for the month. Finally, we have the New York Stock Exchange in the lower panel. Blue elder sticks as it consolidates below previous all-time highs. Advanced decline made a new high, and the new highs minus new lows is still bullish and above the zero line, giving us a neutral to bullish signal to start the week. The bond markets are giving us more bullish signals, with junk bonds above the 50-day moving average. A little bit of a fade on Friday, but we're above the 50-day. Bollinger Bands, though not shown, are above and below and tightening, so it's telling us to look for prices to stay in the range around the 50-day. That's bullish to neutral. While IBB, the green line, and IWM, the red line, are mediating, moving sideways, so those are neutral. Crude oil and distillates, gasoline, are all moving a bit lower. That's good for the consumer. We've got Bitcoin moving sideways, looking for some direction there, out of a range. And as we mentioned before, advanced decline is climbing, with the 10-year in the lower panel moving lower. All of these are telling us to be neutral to bullish going into Tuesday trading. With bonds giving us bullish signals, we're looking for the dollar to do the same. It's below the 50-day. You've got the 20-50-day crossing bearish for the US dollar, so we're looking for King dollar to continue to move lower. That would be good for a tailwind for US equities. And by the way, I failed to mention that with the 10-year below the 50-day, the risk premium is leaning towards equities. As previously mentioned, Brent crude, gasoline, and distillates, oil products all moving lower. That's good for the consumer. In addition, commodities have moved higher, so this is more of a bearish signal if this continues to break out, with copper giving us a contrary signal. Copper, as you know, is a leading economic indicator. This is forecasting improving conditions for the U.S. economy and economies around the world internationally, which did show bullish activity last week, with the MSCI ACWI All World Index at highs. This removes the weight of the United States and only looks at international indices. These are at highs and looking very bullish. Most sectors are improving. We did see some bullish activity in the value sectors. Accordingly, transports, real estate, materials, financials all moved higher. We also saw some improvement in the communication sector thanks to Meta and Netflix, while technology, XLK, rose as well. We're also looking for software to continue, as it is also above its 9, 21, and 50-day. The one concerning factor this week is the peak we're beginning to see in the XLY XLP ratio. This is telling you how institutions are positioning. It looks like they're positioning for a little correction, maybe 3 to 5%. We'll have to see. But you can see the indicator is starting to turn. This is telling you they're buying more consumer staples and defensive sectors after this bullish breakout and the move we saw last week above 6,100 for the S&P 500. So keep an eye on XLY XLP. This is starting to peak, and one of our 3 bearish signals to start Tuesday trading. Finally, we are seeing most of the international indices rising above the 20 and 50-day moving averages, the blue and red line respectively, with most countries following through, pushing higher. This is showing a broadening of participation, and it's not just in U.S. indices. This week, we have quite a few stocks that look like they could see a follow-through. I do note that the IBD 50, Nancy Pelosi's AI stock of choice, Tempest AI, is also on the list this week. We have a number of stocks shown with asterisks by them, indicating recent breakouts, looking for continuation, along with some 20-50-day bull cross candidates and some stocks that had oversold stochastics, looking for price action to move a bit higher going into Tuesday trading. So be sure to check out these names. I'm not going to cover all of them, as I'd like to keep this video a little bit short and sweet. Last week we talked about AFRM as a potential candidate for a long. I decided to take a put credit spread. We have a 20-50-day cross. RSI is showing muscle and volume picked up. MACD is rising, looking for a follow-through. And in this chart, we can see that price action is running the upper Bollinger Bands. Bollinger Bands are spreading apart, telling you that volatility is beginning to pick up. Volume telling you that institutions have been picking up shares, with oscillators giving us a bullish indication for AFRM. A firm recently beat. The company reported 215% earnings growth and 46% in revenue growth. They beat the best estimates by analysts, looking for firm holdings to continue moving higher in the financial industry. Robinhood reported earnings on Wednesday. We gapped up on Thursday and followed through. Nice volume showing institutions have been buying. We do know that Robinhood is planning to expand into the UK, whatever that means. To me, it means increasing revenue, which is already growing. You can see that earnings growth was 1,700%, improving dramatically, along with revenue growth of 115%, beating the top estimates of analysts, giving us an indication that we could see a follow-through in the weeks to come. I'm just looking for a little bit better entry. Hopefully we'll get a little pullback or some sort of sideways price action like we did previously. You can see that earnings back in November gapped up, went sideways, and it just continued to move along the 9 and 21-day moving averages. I'm looking for the very similar price action here. If it doesn't come, and maybe we get a pullback to the 9 EMA, 21-day, that would be even better. but expecting to see very similar price action as we saw the last earnings when it reported a beat as well. Grail has been on the IBD 50 for the last few weeks. This one broke out back in January on volume this past week as well, pushing beyond recent highs to new all-time highs. I would not chase this. It has earnings on February 20th, I believe, and could see some consolidation, giving you a better entry. Samara, IoT, attempting to break out on above average volume. MACD and stochastics bullish. RSI is showing muscle. Strength of trend is persistent, with the company recently reporting 133% earnings growth, 35% revenue growth, and beating the top expectations of analysts that follow the company. Looking for IoT to continue higher. It reports again the first week of March. Volume shows institutions have been picking up shares over the last several weeks. There are many additional stocks down below that are very strong, especially these over here. All of these stocks are above the 10 EMA weekly, looking for a follow-through. Alaska Air, ARK-K, many of you pointing out the ARK ETFs are following through, looking for continuation. Some of the Bitcoin-related names. BYRN, nice bullish action, $30 stock, following through. Chef's Warehouse, as the name implies, beating with a big breakout last week on volume in its last report. Doesn't report again until May, with a big breakout last week on volume. Many of these stocks most likely will continue. Look for dips to buy. Fannie Mae, looking for a follow-through as well. Fubo TV. Guardant Health, GH. A lot of the healthcare-related names look like they could follow through as well. Hymax, as previously mentioned. Robinhood, again. IBKR, the broker-dealers look pretty good. Check out Schwab as well. Airlines looking pretty good. Jets following through. 10 MA up and to the right. So check out these names in the bottom of the list, which will most likely see a follow-through into the weeks ahead. Okay, traders, that's going to do it for me. This is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com with your weekend video newsletter for Monday, February 17th, 2025. I'll send out a watch list later tonight, as usual, around 12 midnight on the East Coast, around 9 o'clock on the West Coast. Be sure to check your inbox for that. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your extended weekend. Take care, and we'll see you in the morning. Ciao.